Welcome back to Switzerland. We're here in Basel with the Women's Masters event, Curling Champions Tour final of this year's event. And we're just seeing the bagpipes coming in. Let's listen to that a little bit. Shortly we'll be introducing our teams. Do we want to introduce the team quick, or I think they're going to introduce the team so we can watch out that way. We'll do the player cards later. We're going to bring you the final of this. There we go. Team Sigfridsson, world silver medalist and European silver medalist. Skip and playing lead rocks. Vennerstrom at second. These are the defending champions of this event. And Christina Bertram playing third rocks. And at fourth position, Maria Pritz. And this is the Swedish team, defending title holders of the Women's Masters here in Basel. And the teams are marching on. We'll introduce the Swiss team shortly. My name is Armin Harder. I'm here with Roger Golka. Pleased to be here with you. And we'll be presenting this final of the Women's Masters 2012 from Basel, Switzerland. Curling Champions Tour live on Lolo on TV. As you can see, it's 8 minutes to 3 in the afternoon here. While we wait quickly here, we'll go through the Swiss team. Sandra Guttenbein at lead. Marketing controller. At second, we have Esther Neuenschwander. Third, new to this team this year, Marlene Albrecht. Traded places with Irene Shorey, who now plays for Flims, and Marlene played for Flims in the last few years. And Silvana Tirinzoni, 1999 World Junior Champion, two-time Swiss champion. And that is the team they're playing out of Aarau.
Dem 7. Women's Masters in diesem Jahr 2012. Wir begrüßen herzlich die beiden Teams. Es ist das PwC-Team aus Aarau unter der Führung von Skip Silvana Tirinzoni.
Swiss MC introducing the teams.
Und die Vize-Welt- und Europameisterin und Titelverteidigerin aus Schweden. Es ist das Margareta Sigfridsson mit ihrem Team. Ladies, the ice is yours.
And there it was, just like that. Teams doing the traditional handshake. So Roger Goka, former world junior champion himself. You've watched these teams this weekend. Any care to go out on a limb and make a prediction, or?
It's hard to say. Well, I just saw the part of the skins game of Tirinzoni. Otherwise, we commented Sigfridsson semifinal, and they were a particularly strong and accurate team. I think it's going to be a really tough game. It's always hard to make a prediction. You know, anything can happen. Even if there was a clear favorite, it's never sure at the end what the result's going to be. So I don't know. I predict at least a close game. Hopefully. I'm not taking too many risks.
At least a close game with one winner.
Yeah, with one winner.
Okay. So you're really going out on a limb there, Roger. Thanks for the analysis. I think, too, it'll be a close game. We watched these two games in the two teams in the skins game yesterday. And the score was 1,200 francs to 900 francs. So it was, for skins, fairly close competition. Both these teams, very capable teams, high on the tour ranking, just one ranking apart on the tour at the moment after these two teams faced each other in the semifinal in Oslo, the first event. Sigfridsson coming out the winner in that game.
Tirinzoni winning the skins though, but now we're not playing for 2,100 francs, we're playing for 10,000 francs. That's the first place prize money, and if you lose that game, it's still not the worst thing ever because you still make 7,000 francs.
Well, each
for
team
second place.
Right, each team guaranteed 7,000 francs. There's a lot riding on this for the Swiss, though. There's points to make up in the Swiss curling ranking system. They can make some ground up against Miri Mott, who's got a sizable lead in that at the moment, and Miri Mott not taking any points this weekend, being knocked out yesterday before qualifying. So Tirinzoni has a chance to make up some points in that exciting ranking system in Switzerland.
Yep.
Yaki also made some points there and try and close that gap on Miri Mott. Miri Mott has a big lead at the moment, obviously, being world champion.
Yeah, because in the end, all those teams, you know, since curling has been in the Olympics, it's the main goal for most competitive teams who make an internal fight inside the country to qualify and represent Switzerland here and also Sweden for Sigfridsson. It's also the aim.
Yep.
Get to the Olympics, and she's competing against Annette Norberg apparently for this spot, and so they are one of the main teams in Sweden, playing also against one of the main teams in Switzerland. So we're really looking forward to seeing this performance.
Just to explain what's going on here, both these teams being undefeated throughout the entire competition. Usually it's the A-Road winner that has the hammer But since both these teams qualified through the A road, we have to determine the hammer. So they each get a draw up and a draw back. Closest team to the pin gets the hammer. So,
and that's a pretty good draw.
Boy, it just slides past there.
Yeah.
Swiss will try and get closer than that.
Yep.
And closest there will get the hammer in this game. Tirinzoni will try and put this on the button.
Yeah, the sweepers seem pretty satisfied with it. Still have to pull it a bit.
As we see here, nice curl from both sides.
Hard sweeping. It looks really good.
Wow.
And I think that's a perfect
almost
drop.
Covers the hole. Tirinzoni takes the hammer.
Yeah.
And the game will start.
Yeah, and that's already a good point for Team Tirinzoni, who starts with the hammer. So they have the first chance maybe to score 2 in this game. So we will see what happens if maybe they start playing maybe the first ends defensively and then try to attack in the second, or right away go with corner guards.
Ice has been very consistent all weekend, so there's not a lot of reason not to start offensive right in the first end.
Yeah.
Ice doesn't get any better throughout the game. It actually breaks down and gets worse, so the best ice will be in the early ends. That's normal.
Yep, because the pebble, those little drops that are put on the ice before the game, allowing the rocks to slide properly, get cut with the stones, wear down, exactly. And so at the start, the pebble is a bit better. Well, I suppose that Sigfridsson is going to try just to draw one into the house to start, take no risk. And probably Tirinzoni will ask for a corner guard.
We'll see.
Yeah. Probably
Sigfridsson playing lead rocks and skipping.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual for teams.
Tirinzoni deciding not to go offensive right off the start.
Yeah. So right now we're probably going to assist a round of observation between those two teams.
She'll want to hit and roll to the side if possible. Sandra Guntenbein, been with this team a few years, and a nice roll.
Good prediction. Yeah, we saw already along that tournaments that takeouts on the side are sometimes a little tricky, tend maybe to curl a lot. And it's always good maybe to have a few rocks on the side, you know, you can hope for a hit and roll out, and then it's yours to draw wherever you want it. But
no problem with that one.
Margarita Sigfridsson, yeah, hits that one perfectly, right on the nose.
There shouldn't be much problems on the outside either. This ice is prepared freshly before each draw. Nice cut and prepared, so should be not too much frost. Maybe frost later on in the game coming in from the inside a little bit. We still have fairly warm temperatures out there and fairly humid temperatures here in Basel, which is normal for this time of year.
Yep.
And this being a 40-year-old club, or older than 40 years old, it does sometimes have a little frost problems. But we haven't noticed too much this weekend.
Oh. Well, also knowing that players don't play very often on the sides, the pebble doesn't wear out as fast, so it might be just a little bit slower. Also on the sides, maybe along the middle of the game compared to the center. So players have to adapt their weight, and sometimes it's a bit difficult, but they're experienced players, so they get used to it, and they know their weight, and they have good communication in the team. So anyway,
we saw that Tirinzoni switched the offense there. She put up a guard. Obviously that rock in the 12-foot is not bothering her too much. Her path, you know, when you have the hammer, you want to keep the path to the 4-foot available to you for your last rock. So as long as you have that, you can pretty well do anything you'd like to do.
And we saw that she has the draw weight already, and putting her first draw, her last stone draw on the pin.
Throw up another guard.
So yeah.
Maria, fint.
We'll see maybe if Sigfridsson after a while decides to draw another one in the house, try and force the one, or we'll just keep on peeling. Maybe for now she will peel, and maybe a little later in the end just go for the second draw.
Tirinzoni said not too close. She doesn't want to hit and roll in, but I think she's not going to quite get what she wanted. It is too close.
Yeah.
Neuenschwander a little heavy on that guard attempt.
Yeah. I think that they were expecting it to curl also a little bit more.
It was a little quick, but
Yeah.
SWE.
Yeah.
So maybe trying a removal attempt here. Try and roll in, put the second one into the house. And it rolls out.
Now Tirinzoni switching, abandoning the idea of the corner guard and going for the freeze onto the red stone because it's behind the T
Yeah,
line.
she pushed that rock behind the T line a little, so changed the position. It was on the T line earlier. Neuenschwander with the in-turn draw.
So they're calling it 6. That's close to the T line, so the weight is probably not too bad. The sweepers seem pretty happy with it. Now it's just a question of line.
Backline.
Maybe it's a little fast now. Anyway, this is not too bad. Yep, and if you have any questions or comments about the game, don't hesitate to write us at live@curlingchampionstore.org. The address is written there at the bottom right of your screen. So we're waiting for your comments. Please write to us.
Christina Bertrup trying to remove that Swiss counter on the outside and managed to stay in the 12-foot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot. It's nicely lined up with the red rock just behind.
Tirinzoni will ask Marlon Albrecht to freeze down on top of this.
Yeah.
Marlon Albrecht, a left-hander. This is her second event in this team. She played with Felcher in the last few seasons. Went to the European Championships for the Swiss. Wasn't one of the most successful trips, though. This looks a little long, too. She's just going to remove that red one.
Oh, yeah.
Both just a little long on those draws. We only have one sheet of ice going on out here right now, so maybe the conditions could change a little bit to what it was.
Well, we know that when there are people on the next sheets of ice, with all those people around, it warms up a bit, the air. And sometimes, you know, if you play a longer game and teams give up on the sheets next to you, the ice conditions can change, you know. Depends on not very much, just two teams on the next sheet of ice can change the ice conditions. The ice is very sensitive. So maybe the ice is going to be just a little bit different for them in this game.
And just a straight removal here from Marlon Albrecht, or a removal attempt. Both these teams coming through the A road, undefeated. And then playing the skins game yesterday, just for a little entertainment and fun. Sigfridsson beat the Hungarian team. Nice little roll over there. Beat the Hungarian team. Then they beat Scottish team Fleming.
Defending world champion, world junior champions.
Thank you. And of course, beating in the A final Andrea Schopp 5-1. Andrea Schopp, former world and European champion. Tirinzoni coming through the A road, defeating Gaspari from Italy, and then a tight, close game against Annette Norberg, former world champion, current two-time Olympic champion, and then beating Switzerland's Sigfridsson in the A final to advance to the quarterfinals this morning. Just trading rocks here.
Good shot. Avoided the jam at the back. And now maybe they're going to just try and roll a little bit to the right and stay in front of that red rock and try and hope for maybe a little mistake from the Swedish team. Silvana Tirinzoni is a quite experienced international Swiss player also. She played in 3 World Junior Curling Championships, winning a gold medal. And she also played in 2 World Curling Championships and in 1 European Curling Championship.
European Curling Championship, she was spare for Miriam Ott.
Her best result at the Europeans was 4th place, and her best result at the World Curling Championship was 5th. But she got that important gold medal in juniors. And like you were saying, it was in her home rink.
No. Yeah, the Worlds were in Sweden that year, but what was interesting about that title is that the men's silver medalist lost to John Morris in the final, and Tirinzoni, who won the gold for the women's, came out of the same club that year, and that's quite a feat for one club to put 2 world finalists, men and women, in the same year.
Yeah, it's quite impressive.
So that shows a junior program that was working very well at the time.
Tirinzoni getting the...
Manny Wenger, who's unfortunately not around anymore, was the head of that program in Volleysong. Some great junior work back in those days. Christian Huller was the men's team representing Switzerland, losing to John Morris, who was a 2-time world champion.
Yeah, and also Olympic champion.
And a lot of other things, yeah.
Big curling talent.
Playing with Kevin Martin.
Yeah.
Still, I think. So a blank end. Keeps that score at 0-0. Tirinzoni maintains last rock advantage going into the second end here of the final of the Women's Masters in Basel, Switzerland. Curling Champions Tour coverage live on Laola 1 TV. My name is Armin Harder, and I'm here with 2010 World Junior Champion Roger Golka. Playing with Peter de Cruz and Benoit Schwartz and Tanner.
Valentin Tanner, yes.
Tanner, yeah.
And we had Dominic Marquis as a
spare
fifth player, yes.
Who's now playing
second
in that team.
I think it's a little bit long. It has to stay in front. And finally it's 3 just in front of the house. Maybe Sigfridsson's going to play guard on her own rock, or maybe just draw it again, but probably it's going to be a guard. Trying to force Tirinzoni to play in the middle.
83.
Ja,
Så nära. Ja, ganska bra i linje. Den är nära. Hake.
närmast.
Den är hake. Bara hake. Kör den. Mellan.
Bara stanna.
Mellan.
Bara stanna.
Bara mellanstanna nu snart.
A long guard.
Very long guard.
Protect their shot. But the direction is perfect. So yeah, Tirinzoni's going to ask for a freeze on that redstone.
And why can't she remove that guard, Roger?
Because there's the free guard zone rule, not allowing leads to take off opponents' rocks that are in front of the house. So she will have to go for the freeze. This rule was set in so that teams are forced to play a bit more offensive. It's actually a really good rule, I think, for the game. Makes games more interesting and gives more chances to teams that are falling behind to catch up on teams who are ahead of them. It seems just a little bit fast, so they're just going to sweep it to make it pass next to the rock and end up at the back of the rings.
Tirinzoni team struggling a little bit with the weight.
Yeah.
Just a little bit heavy on everything so far. Sunderguntenbein not happy with the result of that shot.
Yeah, they had a lot of space there to go around that guard and place the freeze. It was just a little bit too long, but also the direction was not very good.
This will allow Sigfridsson to put a better guard up, a little tighter to the house. Maria Wennerström.
She can also maybe freeze on her own rock, be in a commanding situation in the middle of the house.
And this one certainly looks like it's in the house.
Might force Tirinzoni to play a peel on that center guard, but it's not going to be a perfect freeze. Maybe she will just go directly for the rocks in the house.
Doubles there.
Yeah, if she can maybe make a double and roll a bit.
Wennerström also a little long with that, so maybe this ice is a little quicker than it has been in this morning's draw, and that's also possible. The outside warming up will warm up the building a little bit, so that's entirely possible.
Finally, they're just rolling in front of that red shot. It's not too bad. They can always bump that yellow onto the red later on. The guard is quite far away, so it will allow them to come a hack weight onto that yellow. But it's now Sigfridsson's turn to play. And they will, as they were showing there, probably freeze onto that yellow.
Can you maybe just quickly go through the quarterfinal matchups, see how these teams got into the final? Who beat who?
Yes, well, Tirinzoni beat the young team from Sweden, Hasselborg, 6-2 in the quarterfinals, and then beat the strong Russian team from also a very young team from Anna Sidorova, 5-2 in the semi to be now in the final, while Sigfridsson won against the Swiss team, Stephanie Yegi, and then beat Lorna Fevers in the semifinals 6-2.
Sigfridsson having won this event last year.
Beating Maria Mutt in the final.
I
I remember being there commenting this game last year. It was a very tight game. Oh, that's not a very, very good result for the Swedish
Certainly
team.
left the Dublin out there for the Swiss team. Obviously,
That's now a good chance for the Swiss team to take a good control of the house.
meeting up again with Sigfridsson in the final of the Women's World Championships in Lethbridge, Alberta in March. And what came out on top this time for the bigger event. First time in 28 years for a Swiss win at a World Championships, women's. And this has got a curl if they want to double. Looks like jam on the back of their own. It's really not what they wanted. That was thrown.
It's way too hard.
Way too hard.
Maybe she flipped it a little bit out when she put the handle on. That happens. Putting the curl on the rock, twisting it to make it turn is probably technically the hardest movement in curling. Sometimes you see people with very strange slides but really good releases.
It was probably overthrown a little, I think.
Also,
had
yes,
a lot
probably.
of speed on it. Christina Bertram.
Pretty good shot, but use the yellow open, and they have a rock in front of the button they can always use. Swedish team.
So, findest du gut, wenn ich probiere so? Ja?
So, mal ist auch gut, ja. Ist noch besser. 10,5.
Ja, ich sehe nicht so viel. Ich sehe nicht kein Drittel.
Ein Elfer. Oder nur Heck. Willst du nur Heck?
Nein, hast du das Gefühl, Gerl genug?
I think Silvana Tirinzoni wants to play a hack on that red shot on biting the button at the back, just behind the tee line, and try and roll a little bit on the side to avoid giving a cushion to the Swedish team that they could use by raising their own red one from the 8 foot.
Heel verhaald.
Best. Wow.
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 Ja.
Ja. Wow.
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 That looks a little bit fast. Yeah,
Struggling with their
Little
weight
bit.
here, the Swiss team.
a little bit more than hack.
It's not unusual to be a little up with your draw weight and also throw your takeouts up then if you're not comfortable with their draw weight. So the Swiss have to find that fairly quickly. They're going to get into trouble.
Anyway, now they're lying shot rock, but it's the Swedish to play, and they're probably going to try and remove this rock. Control weight takeout.
Nej. Nej. Nej.
Jag är lite för tunn. Var med Vic. Wow. Sitt nu då.
Bra Nina. Härligt.
Bra.
This is actually a brilliant shot,
Ja, jag hade 0,7 ja.
I think.
Bra så. Så.
Fan, det är gut.
Det är gut.
Ja.
Tani.
Fast glid, ja.
I did notice that player card. Sandra's been around for a long time.
Yep. Wow.
Häng i gut.
Yep. Fish. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
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 Achtung.
Would like an inside roll here. Make sure she's sitting shot.
Looks pretty close.
Yeah, good shot
Nice
there
shot,
from
yes.
Erlen.
Just behind the tee line, though, it will allow probably a freeze, but it's hidden, and it's forcing Maria Pritz to throw a precise shot at it.
Pritz has got two options here. She can draw behind the center, or she can tap up her her one sitting on top of the 8 foot. That rock is in the control zone, so that's dictating what's happening in his end here right now.
Yep. Depending how she manages to draw that, she'll probably have a good chance to steal this end.
Ja, precis.
den 60? Ja, fan är det. 65. 80-85 eller? Egentligen 80, den 60. Din var ju typ bak 4. Men den är 60, ja. Jag tänker 20. Jag tror 80, 85. Ja, jag tänkte 80.
Känns jättebra den här. Jättefin fart.
Ja, gärna.
Helst, inte fart. Inte för fart. Inte fart. Inte för fart.
Vänta då. Ja, vi måste, ja.
Bra fart. Helst inte.
Nej, vänta då, vänta.
Den är bakom. Långt bak 4.
Looks like the Swedish swept that rock just a little bit too much. It's stopping at the back of the rings. So this gives actually Tirinzoni a good chance to take a good control of the house by drawing herself in the middle where Maria Pritz wanted to land. So she will have to be careful not to land behind the tee line. Otherwise, Maria Pritz will be able to freeze on it, and then it will be difficult for Silvana Tirinzoni to take the point. So this is when it's very important to place your rocks exactly where you want them. Sometimes just being 20 centimeters further can be deadly.
Doesn't work it.
A little bit. Oh, weight is pretty good. It's just a question of line now.
Swinging at the end. Has it swung enough? Looked like it was pretty wide. It's half open, but they do have a jam on the back. If they're not careful, that jam, the Swedes, they'd be laying, looking at 3 or 4, possibly.
Well, I think that what you should probably play is just maybe a gentle weight, not more than backline, curl enough, and bump that yellow and roll maybe a little bit towards the middle. The ice curls enough to make that shot. She can just freeze down to it. Try to cut Silvana Tirinzoni down to 1. She has to make sure she curls enough and doesn't bounce off that yellow rock, offering then an open takeout for 3. So now a crucial shot in the second end for Team Sigfridsson, who's facing 2 yellow rocks in the house. And that's trying to cut the Swiss team down to only 1 shot.
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, if she can just get the tiny roll inside. Oh.
Is she not shot?
No.
So
Silvana can maybe try and peel that one through the 2 yellows if she wants to, or she can go for a cold draw. But it's pretty difficult by the right side. I think she can probably see half that red rock. She's looking at the draw, but there's a risk if she ever touches the top red rock in the 8-foot, she could maybe, you never know. I think she's also considering the peel option.
that might be the little.
I think that's a little
slash
easier.
that out of there. That might be the easier shot.
That's what she's saying. It's probably a bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. It's like da-da.
Da.
Da-da. Saw that was last game.
So she's going for the peel. And that's the shot I would have probably personally played. So big shot there to take a 2-point lead in this game. I don't think it's much too risky, even if ever she curls just a little bit too much. And she chases her yellow shot out. The red one's going to go out anyway, so she'll be scoring 1. And if she hits the guard, at least she's also scoring 1, so not too much risk. And probably a good reward if she makes it. That would be a 2-point lead in the even ends is a good lead to have in curling, right?
2 points is always good. I mean, you play the scoreboard, you take 2, give up 1, take 2 more.
And if you can take 2 in the even ends, that means that you would have last rock in the 8th, in theory. And that's very well executed shot.
Lead on, yes.
So there's a 2.
Score of 2 for the team from Aarau, Switzerland, to take a 2-0 lead over Sigfridsson here in the final of the Women's Masters Champions Tour event. 8-end game, and it's the last of this long weekend.
Yeah.
Here in Basel. Roger, we'll get you to vacate for a second. We've got an interview partner here.
Sicher fast bis auf die. Oh, nicht over. Aber das war im Fall wirklich super gespielt. Ich weiss nicht, wieso es der so fest geht. Keine Ahnung. Nicht überkommen. Gut. Das ist wirklich das Eis, glaube ich, im Fall. Moment, gell? Ja, ich weiß es nicht. Ich kann einfach ein bisschen negativer spielen.
Hake! Hake! Ja, det är bra linje. Försiktigt nu. Hake! Fin linje. Hake! Hake är jättebra. Nära! Ja, hake är bra. Lite till. Bra spelat. Bra Maggan, fint. Bra så.
81.
82. Bra Maggan. Nej. Bra spel. Bra. Ja, jag har svart där.
80 var den.
Ja, bra. Hier.
Ska vi nog så fly över det?
Och varte. Snöt över lång. Det är gut. Det är gut. Ja. 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 Ja.
Well, we're back here. Rocks underway in the 3rd end. Tirinzoni leading 2-0 over Sigfridsson. Sigfridsson having last rock advantage. And as I was wandering through the huge crowds here in Basel, I come across a Canadian curler who's here just spending a weekend between tournaments. Roland Robinson from Edmonton, Alberta, Sherwood Park actually, which is just nearby, playing second on Steve Petrick's team. And he's a 2006 World Junior Champion, playing for Charlie Thomas out of Alberta. Welcome, Roland. Nice to see you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're kind of surprised. Claudia Pescia sitting up there with you. Have a Canadian curler over here that's not curling at the moment, and you said you're on holidays for a week.
Yeah, it's a funny combination. I was looking to get away from home for a week, and I've known Claudio from the last couple of years while he's been traveling in Canada. So it was an opportunity to yeah, come see a friend, and there just happened to be some curling on at the same time. Worked out real good.
Can't stay away from it, eh?
No, it's kind of funny. I've been in the curling clubs for 5 straight weekends already. I thought this would be my week off, and I find myself right into one anyway.
It is that time of year again, and it's not often that you see Canadian curlers taking a long break off a pretty busy season. You're playing quite a few events.
Yeah, like we've started the year with 5 events up until this weekend. We were taking a weekend off, and then we're going to play 6 more in a row after this.
And the season's just beginning. How do you come with that schedule? That's a pretty heavy schedule. Mentally, is that?
Mentally, it's been the toughest part. We're able to spend a lot of time physically getting ready for it. Like I don't feel sore at this point, but mentally, every weekend, constantly on the road, away from home. It's the busiest schedule I've ever played. I'm definitely learning a lot mentally of how to keep with it.
Well, you're playing second position. Mentally, Steve must be really have to do something special or whatever, because he's got that taxing as a skip. Mentally, this game is really hard on a skip.
Well, Steve traditionally plays a lot every year. So for him, I think he enjoys being out here that much.
Okay.
And myself and him are the only ones that are doing every single event. Our third who throws last rock is Steve's brother, Dan.
All right.
He's taking 1 weekend off every month to stay home.
All right.
Currently, we've lost our lead this past week due to a sore back.
Yep.
Like it shows how physically demanding a long season can be, and he's already had to back out for the rest of the year because his back is just too sore to continue.
All right.
So yeah, we're currently advertising for a new lead, I guess. Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
if anyone wants to come travel Canada for the next 6 weeks.
So I guess he's got to be from the province of Alberta, so you play the championships that way, or?
Yeah, or we're playing so many tour events all across the country. Anyone that wants to play a lot.
All right. So if I find myself in Canada, I'll come throw some lead rocks. But I got a bad back too, so I can't sweep very well. So what do you've been watching the first 3 ends here? This is your first time in a European curling club, is that
that's
right?
Correct, yeah.
So it's time you guys come over. If you're going to play that many, why don't you come over here? We had a great event here last weekend. Daisy team was here. We got 2 weeks' time. We got Champrey. There's 2 men's teams coming over, Grattan and Matt Paul, I believe.
Okay, so more Eastern Canadian teams. I'm just starting to get out to travel a little bit more of the world like this, and it's going to be a plan in the future to come play events like this more often. Seem like very enjoyable places to come visit. So combine vacation with some competitiveness. And
it's not your first time in Europe, though.
It is, yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Swiss are chasing his rocks behind the corner here a little bit. Sigfridsson has a pretty useful rock back there.
Yeah, it was a very nice slash for 2 in the last end.
Yeah. Probably better than easier than the draw she was looking at.
Yeah, I seen her when she changed my mind. I came to the downstairs window, so I missed 2 shots leading up to it. But yeah, the way this ice is, it's curling a lot. It looks like tremendous ice to be playing on. And it's a tough draw when it curls that much. Actually, it's you think it'd be easier sometimes, but with this much curl, it makes it tougher to throw a.
There was a little clutter in front of the house, which made that a little more difficult. That's for sure. So you can take that home to Canada and say we do have good ice in Europe here. We do have curl.
Yeah, we won't be concerned about coming over to what to expect for ice. After seeing what I've seen here, this would be a lot of fun to play on.
Marlon Albrecht.
Yeah, we see a lot more of the European teams over in Canada. Like Claudio's team the last couple of years, we've seen them quite a bit. They practice at the same, or they were practicing at the same club that I practiced at, and that's how I met them. And then we ended up being in the same events on the road afterwards.
See a miss here from Marlon Albrecht. Didn't remove that rock, so Swede's able to set up 3 here shortly.
The Tirinzoni team, they've been in Red Deer the last couple of years. I believe made the final last year. I can't
Actually,
recall if
they
they
won Red Deer last
might
year.
have won it. Yeah, I hadn't recalled if she had won or not.
That was a big win for them.
Yeah, and that's a big event also. The women's spiels in Western Canada are very big right now.
Right.
A lot of foreign content, but at the same time, a lot of is bringing in more women's teams from around Western Canada as well, and it's great to see. The women's events are full everywhere. Saskatoon in a couple weeks has 48 teams. Red Deer's always 32. We were in Vernon 2 weeks ago. 32 women's teams there as well. Very full events everywhere.
And women's level of play has increased pretty well in the last few years. I believe I was in Lethbridge with the Swiss delegation, and the level of play there in the women was pretty good. Did you manage to make it down to Lethbridge?
No, not for Lethbridge. I think I was working at that time, but I'd made it.
Had to do that too, did you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did all my work at certain times of the year so that I can be free to do all this at this time of year.
Understandably, that's that's the life of a curler. Everybody else is going on summer vacations, and you're working your butt off so you can go curling in the winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christina Bertram. Swedes have a pretty good situation here, trying to put a third rock into play.
Yeah, this is damage control for the Swiss at this point.
This looks a little warm, no? That might slide through the rings the way that's looking. One favor is returned. Boy, a chance for the Swedes to get the upper hand on the Swiss, and he just missed that shot.
Yeah, like they should still have a 2 set up there, but yeah, it's too bad with the opportunity for more.
You see that a lot. You make a missed shot, and then all of a sudden the team will help you back out again.
Yeah, you almost get too excited about the opportunity for when you get a big miss out of a team.
Yep.
Yeah, you get real excited about your opportunity to score more points and
you return the favor right away.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
Yes, we saw that a couple of times this weekend.
That's where you see the more experienced teams are able to really take advantage of that. They don't.
There's certainly no lack of experience on both these teams. They've been around for a while, and it's a mistake that actually shouldn't happen, but it does, even with the experienced teams.
Yeah, that's the nature of the sport. Sometimes, no matter how experienced you are, the mistakes do happen.
Yeah. And that's what makes the difference in our sport too. If we didn't make any mistakes, boy, we'd have some boring games, and that just rolls out. So you're here. You're playing again next weekend, I take it. So
yes.
You're back again.
Yeah, I fly back into Calgary on Wednesday,
Right.
and Thursday we fly into Kamloops.
Okay, Kamloops.
Kamloops, British Columbia.
British Columbia. So you've got a direct flight from Edmonton to Kamloops then?
Yeah, well, from Calgary.
Oh,
Our
Calgary.
team is based.
Okay. Oh, you're based out of Calgary.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Petricks, Dan and Steve, both live in Calgary, so I've been doing travel from Edmonton to Calgary to leave for events. Prior to the start of the season, they were driving up a couple times a week to Edmonton to practice because we have ice a lot earlier in the year than Calgary.
Okay, so well, of course, you're playing a lot. In practice, everybody does individually, basically.
Now
it's a 3-hour drive from Edmonton to Calgary for European fans that don't quite know the distances there.
Yeah, they would come up a couple times a week before we started playing events, so we could get used to used to each other to start the season. Dan and Steve have played together for a number of years. It's my first year playing with them, so we wanted a chance to get familiar with each other before we started traveling a lot, because we haven't had the opportunity to practice as much between games due to the amount of travel.
But obviously now, because you're living differently, you've got the events on the weekends. If you get on the ice at all during the week, you're probably on by yourself, or
if we are now at all. Yeah.
Are you playing any league or anything?
No, not this year.
Enough of that, eh?
No,
too much.
Yeah, like right now, I've been on the road actually for the last 3 events. Like I left home and we went to Vernon, and I stayed in Vernon for the week because we were playing in New Westminster after. So for travel, it was a lot easier to stay there for the week, go to New Westminster. From New Westminster, we came to Calgary for one night. That's when I flew over here, and I return home and I continue on the road. I don't get back to my own house for another 2 weeks still.
Okay. That's quite a bit of traveling. Of course, Canada being a huge country, it's not like Switzerland going from one club to the other. In 3 hours, you've crossed the entire country. In 3 hours, you get into a plane in Europe, you're pretty well taking in most of Europe, or a lot of it.
This is a great setup shot for
really good,
extra points here.
So Tirinzoni has to come up with something. Try and drive. There's a double opportunity there, at least maybe get one.
Yeah. If she can throw it like she did her shot the last end, she'll have a chance to make it.
Yeah. Just pick that top red one, drive it across, take the back red one too. Doesn't want to miss both.
Looks very close.
Excellent shot.
That's a great shot.
Well, like Bales are out of a pretty dangerous situation. But Swedes can still make two in this end. Pritz has 2 rocks to come. So she'll try and bury behind that again.
That sure shows how much curl there is on this ice to be that far out. Or is it that her last rock?
Oh, that is her last
okay.
rock. Okay,
so we missed one.
Yeah,
all right.
We missed one. We're talking too much. Not paying attention to the game. So a blank end here. Swedes maintain last rock advantage in the Women's Masters final from Basel, Switzerland. I'm here with Roland Robson, playing with the Steve Petrick team. These European teams, a lot of them are going over. I think we have in one event, the Swiss in one event, we'll have 7 teams, I think, somewhere. Brantford, maybe?
Okay. So it's
men's and the women's are in, right? We'll have probably 7 teams there, men's and women's teams.
That's tremendous. That's a great showing. When we were in Saskatoon a few weeks ago, there was 3 Swiss teams playing there on the men's side, and we had a chance to play against 2 of them. Very good quality teams. For us, we view the Swiss as a small country. Some of us haven't seen as many of the teams, but to have so many teams come over in a very good quality teams, it opens our eyes to realize that there is a real good curling world outside of what we see all the time, and because not every team gets a chance to travel even across Canada very often. They're stuck within the province. I've done a majority of my men's curling within the province of Alberta and not outside. And
of course, you're getting great competition in the Western
There is great
Canada.
competition there. That's true.
So many solid teams there.
Yeah, but it's I'm having a lot of fun now seeing other parts of Canada get to see some new teams that always haven't played against a lot. Not the teams that normally travel to Western Canada, but the teams that are maybe just slightly below them in the competition level, like not the Glenn Howards, but the I believe it was a Mike Keane that we had played in Oakville. It's a team I'd never seen before. We played them. They played excellent, and then I looked at the world rankings and realized they were in the top 25. I didn't take that into account before we played them, but it just goes to show that you don't always see all the teams that are out there. But yeah, there's tremendous talent across the world, really.
So Mark Dacey was sitting in exactly that chair last week. I was talking with him, and he was saying that obviously coming from Eastern Canada, the trip either to Western Canada or coming here, it's almost the same distance. So the time is change is not, it's almost the same. And he was saying they kept playing here, meeting a lot of teams that you had no idea who they were. You never know how to play against them, and it's a tough thing to go and realize that they're pretty good too.
Yeah, well, it's funny. The Eastern teams like Mark Dacey, I don't think I've played in the same event as he has ever.
Right.
So we don't. Some of us haven't always seen that Eastern team. My former teammate Jeff Walker, who's currently playing with Brad Gushu, moved to Newfoundland to play with them. I've seen on their schedule they've been to Europe more times.
Gushu's here almost every year. They play an event here. Yep.
Yeah, and I haven't played in the same. I haven't seen Jeff in 2 years.
Okay, so you got like
So
almost
it's,
2 zones in Canada, and they never really play against each other.
It's interesting to see that a lot of the Eastern teams will come over to Europe instead, and it's a neat experience to. It's tough to turn down the opportunity to come see a new part of the world, especially associated with our sport. It makes it a lot of fun.
Obviously, financially is a big restriction for many of the teams. Big costs to fly 4 or 5 guys over to an event, hotel costs, entry fee, and the whole 9 yards.
Sponsorship, any sponsorship anyone gets, it's usually very much appreciated. Our team right now, we're mostly financed personally. Each person individually putting up money for it, and
that's tough.
It's a costly year, but we do it because we love it.
That's right. Curlers love their game, right?
Yeah.
Tirinzoni looking for a little roll here, maybe. Didn't roll enough. That's Sternøyen Schwander.
Ja, jag tycker det. Det kommer lite längre ner.
A little less rocks in play the last 2 ends, compared to number 2. I'm traveling with a friend of mine who's never curled before, and actually never been into a curling club. So we spent the first 2 ends, myself and Claudio, upstairs explaining to him the concept of what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And,
so do you think you're going to coax him into the curling club at home?
I think he already likes it.
All right, that's good. Here's a nice rock burying behind that. That little spot is a toonie. Oh, right where she's got the broom.
Yeah, buried in there for luck.
Yeah, everywhere. Make ice. Rocky Mountain Curling makes ice. They put a toonie in the ice.
Yeah. That's a new place to put one.
Just throw it in there randomly wherever it lands, just like the old rabbit on the old Pilsner bottle.
Right. Yeah.
Being from Alberta.
Yeah. We at home at the curling club I grew up at, Grimshaw, Alberta. Every year we'd have a figurine of an army man, and when you clean the upstairs windows, you'd always move them to a different windowsill every year.
Okay.
And you can only get to them by a ladder. But when you're watching from upstairs, you'd every so often see a little plastic army man on the other side of the window.
So the Swedes trying to generate 2 points here. Trying to split the rings.
How many teams started this event?
This is a 24-team event, triple knockout. And both these teams went through undefeated. They played a skins game against each other yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Tirinzoni won 1,200 francs, which is more than $1,200.
Yeah.
And Sigfridsson took 900. So a little extra cash in their pocket, and now they're playing for 10,000 francs first win.
Oh, that's a very nice purse.
Yeah. Losers taking home 7,000.
Wow, very good money.
Doesn't really go a long way in Europe, though, if you're curling.
True, we've seen some of the traveling prices so far for costs. Yeah.
Hotel meals and everything is quite costly in Europe. Some countries more so than others. Both these teams coming from fairly expensive countries. Can't afford the beer in Sweden. She's playing a hit here. She could actually draw around that if she wanted to try. She want to stick. Let's set up a double though.
Even a small roll towards the corner would be real nice. very good shot. Very steep angle for a double.
Yep. Double will jam on that yellow, so they'll probably take the one on the left and just try and roll over to that. Tirinzoni not even looking at that double. And you told me you work in the oil industry.
Yes, I work in a refinery near Edmonton. A power engineer by trade.
Okay.
Shift work. So it works out very well that when I book days off, I don't need to book a lot to get enough off.
So you do 6 on, 4 off kind of thing?
Similar, yeah. 2 days, 2 nights, 5 days off.
All right.
So when I book vacation, 4 days of vacation time turns into 2 weeks of actual time off. So it's a nice advantage.
Employers tend to be tolerant in Canada towards elite athletes?
I haven't noticed it so much. I just do this on my personal time off. I don't think most people that I work with actually don't know what kind of competitive level I actually curl on.
Okay.
Or even that I curl. It's kind of funny. Like I can be gone for a month now, and I'll come back, and maybe 2 out of 20 people will have an idea of what I've been up to.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. It depends on the group of people you work with. Some people are also they like the sport, they're interested, and other groups not so much. And
Europeans will average around 4 or 5 weeks holidays every year. That's not the case in Canada.
Close. I think 3 weeks vacation time, and because we work shift work, we get overtime.
Right.
We can turn that into time off as well.
Okay, so that works out good for you.
So when I'm not curling, I try to work a little bit extra so that I can put that towards time off during the curling.
Things curlers will do to play their game.
Very dedicated bunch.
Tirinzoni trying to remove this counter, hoping for a mistake from the Swedes. At some point, the Swedes are on course to make 2 points here. We'll give you the Champions Tour card. If you guys ever want to come over and play an event, we'd be certainly more than pleased to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. After being over here, and I've only been here for this game so far, but to see the setup and the dedication that this crew has put into bringing these events live to everybody is tremendous. It's a great way to expose our sport to the world.
And there was one of the top Swiss curlers himself. What a best lead in Switzerland for the longest time.
And this the work that you guys do deserves a lot of support from the curling world as well, because it really brings everyone in the sport. It opens it up for everyone to see from all over the world.
We appreciate that, and we feel the same. We like to see Canadians over here. We like to hear how well our European teams are doing nowadays in Canada.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see as many over as we see now.
Curling world is getting bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah, and we start losing more and more teams in Canada. It's it's slowly getting smaller, and hopefully not. Maybe there's a lot of tremendous.
But better.
Better, yes.
Probably better, but smaller. Maybe.
Yeah, and you start losing a few teams that don't compete on the same level anymore. Well, slowly, but we have very good junior programs these days. We're seeing a lot more juniors, and as the years go forward, I think we'll.
Tirinzoni here trying an in-turn double. She wants to remove both those red rocks so that the Swedes only can force the Swedes to score 1. Tough shot here, tough double. She has to come across that red one, get about a third of it. And the rock will change handles and come across and try and drive that one across the rock. She's got to come with quite a bit of speed.
Very difficult shot. From what I've seen so far, she hasn't been afraid to make the difficult shots.
Must be close. And it won and just came across the top of it.
Very good try.
It needed to curl a little more, I think.
Well, draw for two. This looks like this is going to be a tight, very good game to the end.
Yeah, they swept it too much. Needed to curl a little more. It wouldn't have lost as much energy, and it would have hit that red one on the side a little more as opposed to the top. Sweden free draw here. Full 8 foot to make 2 here in the 4th end to tie the game. Priya Pritz, silver at the Europeans, silver at the Worlds, and defending title, defending champion here in this event, beating Miriam Ott last year in the final. Got to work this, make sure it's full in the 8 foot.
Yeah, great job carrying that rock into the house.
Good sweeping job. 2 points for the Swedes to tie this game. Hammer now switches to Tirinzoni team. Well, Roland, you can stay a little longer. It doesn't looks like Roger's not coming back. Maybe.
Well, I'd be more than happy to.
Sure.
This is a lot of fun.
Interesting to hear you tell about the life of a Western Canadian curler. I spent almost 8 years in Edmonton.
That's a long time. I've been there for 6 years myself.
Yep. Originally from
Grimshaw, Alberta.
Grimshaw, where's that exactly?
About 5 hours northwest of Edmonton.
Towards Grand Prairie then?
Yeah, north of Grand Prairie.
All right. It's a long way out there.
A long ways north. Yeah. I'm slowly progressing my way further south.
All right. Don't go too far, sorry. Hit that border. You don't want to go across.
No, no, I don't want to go that far. I found some very nice places in British Columbia that would be ideal places.
So when did the play down start for I guess the provincial? You got zones and then provincials.
Yes, we'll start roughly the new year. Our Southerns, I believe, are playing out of Calgary this year.
Southern Alberta.
Southern Alberta. So we call them Southerns. Northern Alberta is Northerns.
Yep.
And then, so to qualify for the provincial championships will be, I believe they're the week before Christmas or the week after New Year's. I've been having a tough time keeping track of the weekends. I'm already on the road.
So not your responsibility, is it?
No, I just know that I'm probably curling every weekend.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of where I have to be for them.
Somebody tells you where to be and when.
Exactly.
Don't forget the brooms.
Yeah. And our provincial championships are traditionally the 11th to the 14th weekend of February. Valentine's weekend all the time. And this year the Briar is in Edmonton.
In Edmonton, yes.
Yes.
Rexall Center.
Rexall Center, yes, has held lots of tremendous curling events over the last number of years.
I was at the Worlds there a few years back.
I remember going there to watch.
Yeah.
It was very cold from what I remember that weekend.
It was very cold. It was
extremely cold weekend.
Considering it was April already, and snowing.
Mark Johnson, who I've had the pleasure of curling with a little bit the last number of years, he's also the manager of a club I play at in Edmonton, is the chairman of the event this year.
Okay.
And recently retired from his job and taking on the Briar to help run that into a, well, more than likely another successful event for men's curling in Canada.
I've been to a Briar myself as a spectator.
That can be a lot of fun.
And I can certainly recommend it. Any European curlers or fans want to ever see an event, the Canadian National Championships called the Briar, certainly worth a trip.
And the Briar Patch itself is...
that's certainly worth another trip.
Yeah.
There's probably people that have gone to a Canadian Championships to the Briar and never left the patch, never seen the game. But
I might be I might have been one of those people myself, even.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very fun party, and it's 11 days long, 10 days long.
Right.
Yeah, it spans over 2 weekends and during the week.
Another rock that's just a little too long. It does manage to hang on for shot. The Swiss team has been struggling a little bit with the weight, the draw weight.
But those rocks, those can turn into points very, very easily. We've had discussions before about deep rocks early in an end. And we've found that a lot of the time you end up scoring more than 2 points because a team has a tough time removing them from the back of the house. As you see, they're drawing now. And if the Swiss team finds a way to juggle a few of those red rocks out, you're going to have some extra points kicking around in the back of the house.
And they get past it. And nicely buried. So the Swiss teams next Wednesday will start their European trials to see who goes to the European Championships. Very important for the European teams. I think the Scottish teams are starting on Tuesday.
Claudio was letting me know that yesterday when we were talking about that. Wednesday he starts.
The old guy had to get his shoes back out.
Yeah.
Had to play because his skip has injured his foot in Canada.
Yeah. Peter
de Cruz broke his toe. Been laid up for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's a very good young team. I knew Claudio was coming to Saskatoon. I was looking forward to seeing him. And then when we got to town, we found out that now he's going to have to play. And so we played him actually our third game of the Bonspiel. We played our first game against Sven. Oh, great shot.
Great shot. Look at
that. Mike Eel. Is that how it's pronounced properly in Switzerland? Mikkel.
Yep.
We played them our first game. And our third game, we got to play Claudio and the rest of the De Cruz team.
And there was any Scottish teams there? Or any
no Scottish teams,
Swedish?
But our second game we played against a Japanese team.
All right.
So it took us 4 games in our own Spiel in Canada before we played a Canadian team again.
Very good.
Yeah, so
I know the Japanese and the Chinese teams are doing extensive traveling in Canada, gearing up. And
yeah, we've seen them a lot.
Yeah.
The Koreans have sent over a team this year. We've seen them at a few Spiels.
Korean women were fantastic at the Women's Worlds in Lethbridge. Really a solid team.
They do a lot of work, a lot of dedication, full-time dedication to the sport.
They do have a different setup for the sport, of course, in China and that. A lot of European teams, Canadian teams, still have to work for a living. And
that's right. I find as Canadians, Americans, because we see a few of their teams as well, we develop our own teams from scratch. The Swiss, from what I see as well, 4 players decide to play together, and then they go for it, and they find their own ways to fund the team, either personally or through sponsorship that they find. But we do see a lot of the Asian teams are state-sponsored or government-sponsored teams that are more put together by a federation.
They don't have don't have the tradition in the sport as the Canadians and Swiss do, so they still have to develop that base where these teams will come out. I think countries like Asia and Canada and Scotland, Switzerland, you can keep that non-selective team pattern, because I think it's important to encourage your base to keep playing.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity that we've had a base for so many years. Yeah. And introducing the Asian teams, they might be a state-sponsored team for now, but as the sport picks up in their country, we might see in 20 years way more individual teams
within their own country. Yes, and that's what you hope to see, how curling develops in all countries, actually.
And they have the numbers for potential to have the same amount of teams or more than that we have in our countries. They just have to have time to develop facilities to give everyone access.
That's right.
Like we've had for a number of years. So.
That's right. And a lot of European countries are in the same boat. Don't have enough facilities. potential would be there if they had the facilities, but
we are a little bit spoiled with access to facilities. Every town has had curling clubs. Edmonton itself has 8 different curling clubs or more, I believe. I lose count, actually. I've never been to some of them,
well,
just within the city.
that's something a lot of European countries can't even fathom. I mean, Switzerland has 44 curling clubs within this country, so it's actually quite spoiled too.
That's a lot.
But a lot of countries, they play on ice hockey ice, and they have to go a long way to hit curling ice somewhere. So the guard is gone. Tirinzoni does have the hammer. And it could be looking pretty red in there if they ever remove that yellow rock.
Yeah. But
middle's open.
Middle's open, and some potential to bump stuff behind the tee line. There's potential for a big pocket back there to.
Getting down to thirds rocks though, so it's getting pretty late in the game. In the end.
These can be interesting parts of the end. You're just never quite sure how they'll pan out based on angles. Anything's possible all the time. It's the writing's not always on the wall.
One big shot can change the whole setup. She's guarding. Okay. Time to do a little thinking now.
Ja, men først normal, eller?
Ja.
På deres side, så. Ja, der finner jeg først også litt heikel, ne? Ja. Einfach nur
Was ist, wenn wir es so spielen und vielleicht noch den Vorder mitnehmen?
She does have the opportunity to possibly run the guard into the top 12 foot and open both sides up for a draw or tap with her last, or coming into Skip's rocks.
Well, she's certainly eyeing that guard. She doesn't like that guard at all, and she's just trying to decide which way she's going to take a run at it, and I think she's decided to do just what you said.
Yeah. These are nice angles. If you can come back off that one in the 12 foot onto the one in the 4 foot and even just push it back 2 feet, the potentials are there for setting the end up for yourself in the last 2 shots.
Trying to remove that guard and see what happens here. Straight back. That worked out all right too.
That's not bad.
Leaves her rock out in front. Oh. Swedes will now try and draw around that center guard again. Swedes trying to steal here. At least not give up more than one. I don't think that's what she wanted. I think she wanted to open that up a bit, but worked out too.
Bra precis nästan hela.
Ja, vi kan ju limma en etta i så fall. Alltså om de skulle göra någon maximal.
Hur mycket vill vi få ut den då?
Va?
Hur mycket vill vi ha ut den då?
Sämre än den.
Ja, det är bra.
Men riktningen är det viktigaste på våran.
Vill du ha 60 någonting bakkant eller vad vill du ha? Ja, 60 igenom, det är sant. Vill du lösa det?
How's your Swedish?
Very poor. I actually have family of Swedish descent, but my foreign language knowledge is not that great.
Yeah. Pritz will try and draw around this. Keep the pressure on the Tirinzoni team.
70! 75! Precis igenom!
Kala, var med!
Baktorp! Baktorp!
Ja! Hårt!
Baktorp!
Nej, Kala!
Igenom!
I think this shot has to be full 4 foot in front of the tee line to be effective.
Doesn't want to slide behind the tee line. I think that's what's going to happen here.
I think I seen them call the tap and roll.
Oh, okay.
So it might have been the called shot. But this gives an opportunity for the Swiss team. A lot better opportunity than they had a shot earlier.
Yeah, just freeze to this would be all right. She's got to make a shot though. She has to be shot. Okay. I don't think she has to even move it. Just needs to freeze on the inside of it a little bit.
Yeah. Perfect freeze would be ideal here.
So we expected a tight match between these two teams, and that's certainly what we have. We're all tied up after 4 ends of play. Here at the 5th.
6, 12, 6. Beetje knap.
Down to Skip's rocks in this end.
Speelplaats, speelplaats.
Tirinzoni with the hammer.
Sippen. Ja,
Just hanging out a bit. Looks a little hot.
8, 9.
Got to curl a lot. Not quite.
Samma sten va?
Just a little warm.
Eller egentligen vill man... Ja, precis. Då är vi före 10.
Just to let the Swedes
Ja. Men
play a little hit and roll.
Yeah, a hit and roll would make a force very difficult even. Potential steal.
Jag tycker att vi har jättebra... Det här
Should be
tycker jag är det
sitting
absolut viktigaste. Sen vad
3.
den här tar vägen tycker jag spelar mindre roll.
Ja, nej, absolut. Jag tänkte att 20 var lätt att styra.
Vad som var lättast...
That wasn't a very good shot from Tirinzoni. She
Typ 40.
Ja, då, det är
Det är
okej.
bra det.
didn't want to be out there.
Spela 50 om du vill också.
Och bäst koll på är ju jättebra.
Vad du har mest is för. Liksom.
Det är inte så himla mycket luft.
Nej.
Nej,
Känns det som 50?
ja, tillräckligt
Då spelar vi
för
det.
träffen för vicken liksom.
Yeah, small 1.5 flop to the inside here would
Bara man inte liksom
almost
går
force
alltför smodig, höll jag på att
the
säga.
Swiss team to have to draw full 4-foot just to give up
Det är
one.
ju bra då.
Yeah.
Absolut.
Ja, köpen måste väl vara någon slags marginal.
Är det det på lägsen? Ja, det tror jag. Lite.
Det är inte för mycket tror jag inte.
Okej, ja, då är jag nöjd. Bra. Ja, 50 då.
Ganska tajt.
45.
Kala.
Ray Pritz, last rock in this end for the Swedish team. Trying to really put some pressure on this Swiss team. This is hanging out too, though. Ooh, she doesn't want to jam.
Alltså där.
Well, do you have anything there for 2?
Yeah, those are the angles have changed a little bit, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. But definitely gave her an easier shot for her one.
Yeah, she could have been in big trouble.
Yeah.
Still has to make a good shot to score 1. Come a little on the inside of that red, or just straight draw. Taking a good look at that rock. These rocks are aggressive, so the dirt likes to stick to them. You want to make sure you clean them. And give it a good rotation too.
It seems like a very nice combination of stones and ice out here. Look fast and curling a lot.
Richtige squat, boysje. Sippen, sippen, sippen. Sippen. Sippen.
Up there by the guard, that looks like a great shot.
It worked out. 1 for the Swiss team. Force. Hammer will now change to the Swedes after 5 ends of play, 3-2.
Så tar vi 2 nu.
Well, Roland, I'll let you get back to enjoying your last few days off here in Europe. But we wish you all the best of luck on the tour and your championships.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to sit in on the broadcast. I had a great time.
Thank you very much, and good luck to your team. And say hello to the guys at home. Say hello to Edmonton for me.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
If I ever make it back myself.
And we hope to see you back. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd very much looking forward to plan on making a trip to Curl over here in
That would be
the
great.
near future.
All right.
Okay,
Good.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Taxi. Okej.
Ja, ja.
Ja, 63.
Tappade ingenting av hennes fart.
Nej.
Not biting. So still in the free guard zone row. Live at curlingchampionstour.org. Questions, if you have any, better get them in quick. We're getting down here into the late stages of this game. So after Roland Robinson was with us, talking about curling in Western Canada, Roger Gulka is back. A curler from Western Switzerland.
Yes. Yes, the French part.
The French part.
The best part.
Okay. Yeah, you're allowed to say that.
Bonjour,
that's
bonjour.
Bonjour.
Anyway, so after spending those ends in the stands and seeing how the crowd enjoyed it, I hope you people watching the game on Laula TV are enjoying it as much as we are, because there were quite a few claps upstairs with all the nice rocks played, especially in the last end.
Yep. Entertaining so far.
Yep. So we hope it's going to keep up like this. Well, it's starting well with 2 guards already. And probably a draw behind the center guard.
Swiss would like to steal in this end. This is an even end, the 6th. It's certainly going to, I think they're going to go for the steal.
Yeah.
Because the 1 point they took in the 5th just wasn't enough.
Oh. But still with controlled risk. Try not to give more than 1. So
working that hard, just didn't finish up for them.
So quick hello to Benoit Schwartz, who's listening to us.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. He said, send me a text there saying hello, bonjour.
Okay.
So hello, Benoit. So I hope you're also enjoying the game. And
should be studying or something, I think, should he?
Yeah, you should be studying, I think.
Yeah.
Go back to
Get
work.
back to work.
Yeah. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, you can always write to us at live@curlingchampionstour.org. We'll be glad to answer them. So Benoit and his team will be playing the trials.
Yes.
On Wednesday, starting on Wednesday. And there's 3 teams engaged. So Team De Cruz without De Cruz because he's injured, sadly, and Team Sven Michel. We saw already on Laula TV. He played both finals in Baden and in Basel last week.
Losing last week to a very hot, very tough playing Oscar Eriksson.
Yeah, and winning against also Peter De Cruz, actually, in Baden. That was also a very tight game. Remember Saint Michel making a really good shot to win it, to score 3. And also Team Hess from Zug, last year's finalist at the Swiss Championships, losing in the extra end against Jan Hauser.
Obviously, we know a little more about what's happening in Switzerland because we're living here. I think the Scots are playing next weekend also. And if anybody knows what I don't know if the Swedes have trials too. If anybody happens to know, you're welcome to send us that information. We'll get that out there too. I'm not quite sure what what all the countries are doing.
Den är på 10. Bak 4.
Behöver köla.
Den har köla. 10. Behöver köla. Ja.
Bra fart.
Den enda på 10 kan vara bakom 10. Bara 10. På frys. Ja, kör på frys. Ja, den är där, den är där. En jättefin linje, kör! Hårt, jobba!
Well, that just came up a little short.
Yeah, I think that Tirinzoni still, yes.
Yeah, they're
Tirinzoni, I think,
lead
is still line 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
one for sure. I think two.
The one
very
on the
close,
tee
but
line,
looks
or
like.
close to the tee line, is shot, and I think the top one's second shot.
Yeah, so it looks from our angle. I think that's what it is. Still, the Swedes, even though they're probably a little disappointed with that shot, we heard them doing, but they can still use that red rock on the side. You push it a bit.
Still lots of rocks to come in
lots
this
of
end.
rocks to come. Anyway, Sylvana's, like we were saying, probably going to try for a steal somewhere without, of course, taking too much risks, and she's in a pretty good situation now, at least to force Sigfridsson to score maximum 1.
Send a special birthday wish to the ice maker's father out here, Martin Cassani, the ice maker here in Basel. Done a great job, and he's sitting and enjoying this right now with his father, who's celebrating his birthday today. So Andy Cassani, Oberville,
happy birthday.
We wish you a happy birthday. And we'll do that here too on the Curling Champions Tour on Lowell 1 TV. And Martin certainly also deserves a good drink. 2 hard weekends of work here in Basel. Excellent ice conditions.
Yeah, you don't get
Teams
much
love
sleep when you're an ice maker in for those kinds of competitions.
Right. Oh, nice double here.
Oh, good shot.
And of course, the shot making that we see here is only possible on ice that's playing this well.
Yeah, making those kinds of shots regularly for sure. So now the situation turning not so bad for the Swedes. The Swiss have got to be careful. There are 2 rocks, one particularly well buried behind the corner guard. It'll be hard to get out. Yeah, and Tirinzoni saying actually she's not particularly sure the Yellowstone is shot, but she thinks it is. So discussion there. Are they going to push or just draw? They decide finally just to take out that open red rock on the side. So tricky place to play though.
Yep. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Fast.
Well, they're past it. Get one jam on the back.
So
Didn't get the double.
Now we're sure who's shot.
Yep, now we're sure.
This is the red. So Maria Pritz, sorry, Sigfridsson skipping. Maria Pritz throwing 4th rocks. Have got a chance for 2. Already lying on 1, and it's their turn to play. Could either just draw one on the other side in the open, but they have to be careful because there are those center guards, so maybe he will try to just come in the middle. It's quite tricky. Tricky situation because Tirinzoni has got 2 good rocks in the control zone. That means the zone in front of the 4-foot, in front of the tee line. She's up for a takeout. So get a hit and stay. Now there's a red rock in the control zone.
Okay, also den sehe ich fast halbe.
Den?
Ja.
Ja,
apparently they can see half of this red rock.
It is the shot rock, and I think if she's able to remove that and stick around somewhere, the Swiss would be lying 2. Because I think the Swiss rock on the left-hand side is the second shot.
Yeah, so important shot for Marlene Albrecht.
Yeah, big shot here from Marlene Albrecht.
Yeah, mission number 1 is really to make sure you get rid of this red shot. The roll is going to be only extra. It's very important to make it. And
no,
hits the guard. This is not optimal, we could say.
So the Swedes have an opportunity to really put some pressure on.
Yeah, and they have the last rock. They can be lying maybe 3 if they make a split. Or at least they can take a really good control in the control zone there in front of the forefoot. And I think that Tirinzoni is going to have to pull up some nice shots there to change the situation around. We were seeing the Swiss before in a pretty comfortable situation, but suddenly things have changed.
Yep. Missed shot here.
Yeah. One made shot, one missed shot, and suddenly things turn around very quickly. That's the laws of curling, laws of sports in general. Oh, good shot. I mean, there's a double, but
I think she'll have to take that one because she certainly doesn't want to give up 3.
I think the idea of that shot was probably to bring the game a bit on the side instead of getting Tirinzoni to play in the middle, because she could still use that center guard. So even if she makes the double, I mean, you think when you have last rock how you can score 2. If you score more, it's only extra. So already if the Swedish team can score 2, that's good. So it doesn't matter too much for them if they make the double. Of course, it's better if you score 3, but you don't want to be too picky. And if you can take your 2, you take it. Good shot from Silvana.
And she rolls shot, but it's exposed. Hit and roll from the Swedish, or a hit and stay. I don't know if she wants a roll there. That would set up a double. She might just want to hit and stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, Tirinzoni with her 1-point lead, probably not take too many risks. If she hits and stays open, she'll only play a single takeout, maybe try and roll behind her guard, but
so I think that's what the discussion is. They're trying to decide if it's a good idea to roll behind that or not. I think a hit and stay there might be the best option.
yeah.
Thinking if you roll towards there, there's a raise double opportunity or just a direct raise double.
Vicka ut är väl inte så dumt, då är det lång vik för henne. Tycker också vi sprider på det.
Roll the other way. I think that's probably the better choice.
Vill du spela så? Ja, vadå? Eller den handen? Ja.
Jag hade 80 på Nina, ja.
Ja.
Inte vad Maria hade.
Spela 90 då. Man kan hålla den bra med så 90. 90 va? Ja. Mm.
Maria Pritz trying to put some pressure on Silvana Tirinzoni. Now in the 6th end.
Jumped it pretty quick. Working it pretty hard.
She has to hit and stay.
Yeah, she got it on the
This is
nose.
done.
That's a good shot.
Now I think they'll try and hit and roll somewhere, or looking at the crazy double.
You could slash that on the right-hand side, that yellow, and double them out and lay 2.
Yeah, already seen those kinds of shots happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessary to make that here. It's a little.
Well, of course, it would be absolutely brilliant if it ever happened, but
it's certainly there.
big risk.
It's not that tough.
Well, we've seen
Hear what they have to say.
Silvana play some nice takeouts.
Ja, die Frage ist, wie schwierig findest du ihn? Also meinst du, ist
Also einen bringe ich schon raus, oder? Also sage ich, also das
Also, gut, aber der kommt aufs Gleiche aus. Den
ja,
kann man
nein,
probieren,
so,
oder?
So natürlich
Ja.
kann ich ihn schön da hin.
Wenn du ihn schön spielst, ja. Ja, ich und
Okay,
dann ist
gut,
aber
machen
eine
wir
Chance. Also, ich bin dabei, wenn du spielen.
Ich müsste ihn relativ wenig treffen.
Ja.
Okay.
Und du hast doch da den schnell auch schon da gespielt.
Ja, eben. Der
Also
Clearing.
komm.
Ein Viertel.
Also ich glaube, er kommt gut.
Ja, so, ja. Also recht wenig.
Ja, recht
wirklich,
wenig.
oder?
So wenig wie
Mit der
möglich.
Preis.
Aber schon, dass du ein bisschen triffst.
Eben so wenig wie möglich.
Ja, nein, der kommt super.
Das ist gut.
I figure they get one for sure anyways, so we're saying why not make the attempt.
Noch ein bisschen mehr.
And if she makes it, obviously, she can get out of this end.
And if she makes it ideally, she even lies 2,
Yeah.
forces Maria Pritz to score only 1. Of course, there's also the risk of missing everything. Silvana going for the big shot.
Whoa! Yes! Whoa! Yes!
That's always a good sign. Yes, no.
And she
there
makes
you
it.
go.
Does she roll out? She just
Oh, it
rolls
just
out.
rolls out. Oh, it just didn't even come back in the house. Well, anyway, very nice shot.
She might have the force here. Fritz will have to remove that yellow shooter and roll away.
Yeah, Silvana looks very confident. She's trying those kinds of difficult shots and making them.
She's been playing well
Playing
all
very
weekend.
well. Yeah, she's been partly holding her team in the game already with a really nice double earlier on, when the Swedes were maybe looking at a possible 3.
So they'll want to just pick this out cleanly, roll away, and it looks like they've accomplished that. So after the 6 ends of play, the score is still 3-2 for the Swiss. And Sigfridsson will hang on to the hammer going into the 7th.
Yes.
So it looks like we're going to have an interesting finish to this game.
Yeah, like we were saying, it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah, we're not
And it
disappointed,
is.
have we? Seen some great shots from both teams. We're here live on Lola 1 TV with Curling Champions Tour action from the Women's Masters in Basel. Here at the curling rink in its curling center in Arlesheim. I'm here with Roger Golka, 2010 World Junior Champion for Switzerland. And my name is Armin Harder. And we're here watching Team Tirinzoni from Switzerland in the final against the defending champion, Sigfridsson, world and European silver medalist last season.
Willst du dann schlecht? Ich glaube, musst nicht.
Margareta Sigfridsson having been for the most successful Swedish team last season. She's got quite a good, also a nice international experience, participating in 4 World Curling Championships, winning 3 silver medals. The last one was last year in 2012 in Lethbridge, Canada, and where she lost actually to Miriam Mutt, the Swiss team. She participated also once in the World Junior Curling Championships, and she got also a silver, lost the final, and played 2 European Curling Championships, also very successful, 1 gold medal and 1 silver medal. Gold medal was in 2010, where they beat Scotland 8-5 in the final. And last year in 2011, they got silver, losing this time to Scotland 8-2. That was Eve Muirhead, Scotland. Also the young and talented team from Scotland. So actually it's quite interesting to see how many of those curlers that are playing here in this tournament have been at the World Junior Curling Championships. And how many actually have won it, or at least won medals. Most of them actually did. So we can see that they keep on going after the World Juniors. Not all the players do that, of course, but many do. It's always nice to see. Also in the men's, I'm thinking about, for example, Oscar Eriksson, who won the tournament last week. Also Team de Cruz. And Sven Michel from Switzerland. His team also participated 2 times in the World Championships, winning 1 bronze medal once, beating Denmark in the bronze medal game. So of course, all these players have got a good international experience. After a while, you know, the first time you play against international teams, it's always a little bit stressful. First tournament, international tournaments don't always go that well for you, but as long as you get used to it, it's always a good experience to get. And in Europe, many tournaments are played around all over the place, especially in Scotland, Switzerland, and in the northern countries like Norway and Sweden. So all the curlers around all Europe usually meet there. Is she going to roll out? Just rolled out. Very good sweeping there from Sigfridsson, who of course as a skip is not sweeping her own rocks, but she's doing a good job with the opponent's rocks past the tee line.
Important that the skip can sweep good too.
Yeah. And to remind people who are maybe not too familiar with curling, you can only sweep opponent's rocks past the tee line, past this line crossing the house horizontally through the middle. And you can only sweep, only one sweeper can do that.
Tirinzoni trying to force Swedes into one in this end.
Yep.
Take the hammer.
Yep, probably
even up.
Probably what the Swedes are hoping for is a 0 right now and get their 2 in the 8th and final end.
Yep.
And if worst comes to worst, they can always score their 1 and go for the steal in the extra end. They might have an extra end if things keep going on like this.
Swedes would, Tirinzoni would like to force. Even with the hammer going into the last end would be an ideal situation for the Swiss team. Of course, the Swedes doing everything to try and avoid that.
Yeah, what the Swedes really don't want is to score 1.
No,
that would be the worst, because they would be tied without the last rock.
Doing a good job of removing that rock.
So either they score 2 or
that's why it was so important that rock that rolled out there that we see was so important that that stuck in the rings. It would have changed this end. Now it's fairly straightforward. Put up a guard, remove the guard, put up a guard.
But this rock is not yet useless, because sooner or later Silvana can maybe try and freeze to it.
Absolutely.
And maybe force Margareta Sigfridsson to mistake.
That is correct.
Gut, schön.
Yeah, Bertrup with the peel.
Anina.
Bra.
Härligt.
Bra. Ja, bra.
60.
Det är så skönt.
Klockrent. Härligt. Väldigt.
Bra spel, tjejer.
Någon gång kommer vi fälla varandra.
Ja. Ja, vi växlar över liksom. Det ser ganska snyggt ut tror jag. Japp, japp! Mycket bra. Kör, mycket bra.
A little bit of yelling, but in the end, not too much stress. Shot is perfectly executed. The peel shots are usually, there's a usually high percentage of success in those shots.
14.
Only very seldom you see players miss those. Either if they just blow the rock they throw by or hit in the nose and stay and leave a guard on. Tirinzoni is just going to try to play last guard. If Maria Pritz manages to peel it, we can expect her to try and freeze onto that rock on the corner. Rock that just rolled out of the house but not out of play, so it can still be used as a backing.
Länger ist gut. Nicht rein. Ja, dass ich einwicken kann.
Nein, kommt selber nach.
Wow.
Gut.
One more peel.
Hej, hej. Inte ens rent.
Ooh,
Maria. Bra.
Ooh, nearly did the perfect shot actually.
very close.
Yeah, and there we go. We see Silvana putting the broom down to go freeze onto that rock on the side.
That could have gone almost very wrong too. She
Yeah.
just came close to missing it too.
Yeah, that would have been probably the worst thing ever.
So as you said, Tirinzoni will try and put one in front of that back rock.
As close as she can.
Still trying to force the Swedes into taking one in this end.
Or even if ever they missed their peel, because it's well frozen, they could even steal one. That would be, of course, ideal.
Turn draw down to the back of the rings.
Ja, das ist gut. Herterlänge. 8.
Sehr lang, hè?
Ja, ja, kommt backline. Backline.
Certainly not short.
They're calling it backline. It's probably just a little bit
Yeah,
too
it's
fast.
looking too long. So that's going to bump that just too much. Yeah, well. Not what she wanted. Makes that job quick. Simple for
Oh, nice try. At least it's in the house. They're forcing Maria Pritz to throw her last rock.
Yeah, you always want to do that.
Yeah, because anything can happen. You don't expect it, but it can happen. A pick, open miss sometimes, you know. It's very rare, but
Well, we hope it doesn't pick because that
would be very sad.
for a game like this. Nice and close. Good shooting.
Yeah. A few very important games actually were won or lost on a pick. Particularly there was one junior Swiss women's final that was lost on a pick. Open
she
draw
gets
to
it.
the 12th foot.
Yep.
And I think it was Irene Shori skipping. And so there was just a rock of the opponent biting the 12th foot. So she just had to hit the house and it would have been fine. And she releases the rock, and right when she releases it, there's a pick, and it's missed. And that's always very dramatic, and you never really hope that in a game.
So the Swedes managed to blank that end, maintain hammer here going into the 8th end. Swiss with a slim lead, 3-2. And they'll be wanting to either steal or force the Swedes to make only one.
Yep.
And then they go into the extra end with a hammer.
Yeah, the usual strategy is to draw one top of the 4 foot with the first yellow rock, and then the Swedes will play a corner guard.
The Swedes will be trying to make 2, obviously.
And then they will very certainly throw a guard. The Swiss will very certainly throw a guard on that rock they placed in the house.
So leads rocks very, very important in this end.
This one has to be top of the button in front of the tee line. Absolutely.
Sandra Guntenbein looking on intently to her rock.
Yeah, it has to be top of the 4 foot. Has to curl. Absolutely not be behind the tee line. So the weight is perfect, but the line is not that good.
Could have been better.
Well,
Tirinzoni glancing up at the time. We do have time clocks. Maybe we can get a camera on one of those time clocks to let us know what we're looking at. There we go. Thank you very much. So we see that Tirinzoni's down to 6 minutes. Swedes still have lots of time. 9 minutes.
Yeah, we count generally 7 minutes for an end.
Generally.
So 6 minutes should be enough, but they can't waste any time now.
No, you'll want your team members to be ready in the hack to throw when you put the broom down.
Yeah, to leave a bit of time for the skips rocks if there's a need of a bit of reflection, to think a bit.
Yeah, you don't want to be rushing at the end when you have to throw an important shot.
Yeah, sometimes we see players skips running down the sheet of ice to throw the last rock, and it's always very bad when that happens because you know you can't take your time, you can't maybe do your routine perfectly, and often it's for a very important shot. So you just really want to make sure your skip has enough time to think his shot out and play it without having to rush.
And we see here that Swiss counter in the house isn't really in an ideal position. Like you said, it should be in the top of the 4 foot on the center line. It's just not quite good enough.
Guard is pretty well placed though.
Guard is nicely placed, yes.
Maybe the Swedes are just going to get rid of that yellow shot, push it back behind the tee line.
Obviously they can't get rid of the center guard yet because it's in the free guard zone rule. We're still at leads rocks here. Margaret Sigfridsson playing leads rocks and skipping. This is starting to make its move now. They're sweeping it.
Line seems to be pretty good.
A little tap.
Yeah. Behind the tee line, balanced a bit behind the guard. That's a pretty nice shot. Yeah. The Swedes have to make sure at least they leave themselves a shot for 1. Worst thing for them would be to get stolen. At least if they score 1, they get the extra end. They wouldn't be in the most comfortable situation because they would have to steal in the extra end, but if they have the chance to score 2, they will take it because that will win them the game right away.
Esther Neuenschwander. Focus here, and of course, in this game is all important. Mental fitness. This is the 3rd game today for these teams. So they've curled almost 6 hours now in total. That's a lot of curling. And now it's down to who's the fittest, who's the most focused.
Yeah, players who sweep do around 2 kilometers per game, just going up and down the ice. So times 6, it's about 6 kilometers already, plus the sweeping, plus the mental fatigue. So this is when sometimes you see where teams are stronger. It's in the mental at the end where it really counts.
Started curling at 8 this morning with the quarterfinals. We're now just before 5.
Thanks for them. They only played 3 games on Friday, plus the skins game, so this is also probably partly why they made it to the final, because they're also a little less tired than other teams who had to go through the sea road and play at least 6 games before they got to the quarterfinals. That looks like a pretty good shot.
It might roll a little too far for them.
I wonder if it's behind the corner guard.
We'll see in a minute.
It is. So no double.
Rolled far enough.
Maybe there is actually. Yes.
There's a double intern double off the center one.
Ene nach, lange.
Or she can do this also. She can certainly get at it. We'll listen to them as they discuss it. That's when they stop discussing.
Ene nach, backline.
Backline weight.
They're trying to hit that one in the middle.
You have to be careful not to be too wide, because they can always hit that red guard who's quite up front.
It's half open, that red one.
Yeah.
So just have to focus on the broom.
Ik zie ze niet, hè?
You see that one a little less than that one. Just focus on the broom. Play the weight you need. Try and eliminate everything else out of your vision.
The risk is if they manage to push the red rock, freeze onto their own yellow.
Pretty close to hack weight. That's what they're calling.
Well, they have to pay attention to that red guard that's far away, and that can be very annoying for those kinds of shots.
That didn't make it. Yeah.
Well, it's not too bad though. They got rid of the corner guard.
Of course, that rock comes out of play because it touched the border.
Tricky situation now for Tirinzoni. There's already 2 red rocks in the house. Probably there will be a 3rd one coming. Swedish are also lying shot, and that yellow rock is open.
Maria Wennerstrom. Showing a lot of focus.
Line seems to be pretty good. Has to curl a bit, but it will. It's a question of speed. That's a pretty well executed shot. It's nice in the control zone.
So they'll try the double the other way. Play an in-turn, come across the top of that rock. Sorry, this is an out-turn since Marlin's left-handed. She overthrew it a bit. She's just coming out a little too strong.
So the Swedes in a pretty good situation for now. I say for now because there's still a few rocks to be played before the end.
Jag tror att de kan spela en trippel här. Vi behöver vika lite. Ja. Hur ser du? Vi måste ut. Kan fart? Ja.
Trina Ertrum trying to hit and roll off that Swiss yellow rock. Roll into the middle. It's hanging out there too. Timeout called by the Swiss. Time for a team meeting. There's a double definitely set up there.
Maybe a triple actually.
Talking about it, we'll listen to them. So Brian Chick, their coach, will have to have a quick flight in from Toronto here to make this timeout.
Aber ich finde schon das doppelt gut. Also weißt du, wenn der da liegt.
Time hasn't started yet.
Ich würde auf den Triple gehen.
So I don't know who's...
Ist nicht so schlecht. Aber eigentlich nur ein Drittel. Ein Drittel.
Ja, ist gut.
Yeah, I think there's a triple.
8,5.
Ja.
Good chance there for Tirinzoni actually get rid of all those red shots.
Right, and lay two even, because I think she could even maintain her shooter if she makes this. So Brian, you can get back on the plane, go back again. You didn't make the timeout. Brian Chick, coach of the Tirinzoni team, living in Toronto. But he'll be here next week for the European trials. Marlon Albrecht. Ooh.
The aggressive handle.
Just kind of gave it a shove at the end. That's one. Just hit too thin.
Ouch. Yeah. Sometimes bad habits come back in those kinds of moments. You know, a little flip out.
Yep. So that didn't help her team much. Well, the Swedes will now reciprocate with a timeout.
Knowing we don't understand Swedish, we can't tell you what they're saying.
But we will probably have some Swedish fans watching.
Went for 15 seconds.
We'll let them talk.
Du menar att de kan nästan få köpa insida på den, va? Det kan de ju få. Alltså om vi ska slå den menar jag.
Ja, precis. Frågan är...
Kan ju dra skottet här också.
De kan ju inte dra. Den vägen är stängd här
den
nästan.
vägen,
Men här kan de dra. Nej.
Frysning kanske.
Frysning här. Eller lite tryck.
På våran. Som jag skulle göra.
Eller slå och vicka lite ut på gul.
Nej, ja, den är också bra.
Nej.
Och då ska, ja, precis, vicka rakt bak så att de har en svår dubbel. Så att vi vickar
Jag tycker de har
nästan längre dit.
Men då kan ju vi spela på våran.
Nej.
Nu ska vi inte spela vicken dit eller långa vicken.
Ja, det är bra.
Ja, långa vicken. Annars kan de ha dem i en frys här.
Som säger, då spelar vi ner egen.
Ja.
Jag berättar om annat. Du såg inte heller.
So I guess they're
Jag vill bara...
trying to decide what to do. Remove that yellow rock or...
Seems like they're looking at that yellow now.
It looks like that's what they decided to do. That would leave them lying 3.
Yeah. Should maybe want to roll a bit onto the side. To avoid leaving the possibility for a freeze. And their shooter's going to be stay behind the tee line. That's tricky because they are leaving a freeze opportunity to
Tirinzoni didn't take a lot of time on that. She is a little bit under time pressure.
But she doesn't have much choice also. I mean,
you're not going to remove all 3 of them. That opportunity has been missed. So she'll try and freeze in there.
And if she makes it,
might be very useful. So big shot here for the Swiss team. Try and bail out her team here in the last end.
We've seen her very confident during that game, during that tournament. So. Calling 5-6, so that's just in front of the tee line. That's just a question of line. They're calling it tee line. Oh,
just gets a rub.
It was just a
Rolls
little bit
open.
faster than what the sweepers called it.
Yeah, did have a little more, but I don't think they left off, so just touched it.
Yeah,
Support there, and I can remove that.
Where are they going to stay if they do that? If they stay on the nose, they're going to leave a second chance for freeze.
Just touches that first rock. We just see it there, but she was a little heavy there. If she doesn't touch that, might roll over open on the other side.
Probably the speed was perfect without sweeping for the freeze.
Yeah, just needed to sweep it for the line.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bit more important than.
So Pritz will try and navigate that port, come between those two reds, and take. Ooh, they yelled that right away. Usually a sign that they're tight. What has she got? She makes it.
It's a great shot. Well, now I think Silvana has to do the same shot again. They're coming freeze. She has to take the shot. That's very, very important.
Swiss up one without the hammer. The Swedes laying with 3 rocks.
Yeah.
Tirinzoni desperately looking for a perfect shot here.
Yeah,
try and force the extra maybe.
Roughly with the same speed. Should be okay. A lot of pressure. It's a Skip's job. Resist the pressure.
10,000 francs for first prize.
Good. In the long.
Oh, it looks quite wide. We've seen there's a really big swing at the end, so T-line.
Looks a little heavy.
Yeah. If it just touches.
It is shot, but
I think it's wide open. Now they have
wide
to hope for a jam. It's not that easy, but you have to come quite tight to that red rock on the left.
Tirinzoni was just a little heavy with that one. So the Swedes could win this event for the 2nd year in a row by removing that yellow rock from play. Maria Pritz. Is this the last shot of the game? Or will we go to an extra? No, could be over actually. She misses this. Quick delivery. Work. Looks pretty close.
Yes and no.
And looks like a clean pick. 3 for the Swedes.
And a victory for the 2nd time in a row in that tournament.
Congrats. Congrats.
Sigfridsson, 2nd year in a row, Women's Masters champion.
Så slag upp slag eller vad?
So we saw 2 great teams in the final here. And And Swedes coming up big again. 10,000 francs for the winner, 7,000 for the runner-up. And we'll follow the hand over the champions. I'm sure these two teams will cross paths again.
Das Team von Sigfridsson als Kind mit Maria und Maria Petz.
Ich halte mich ganz kurz, vor allem wenn noch so viele Leute da sind, die mich hören. Aber ich wollte noch schnell allen Leuten Danke sagen, die
Manuela Korman, Netzer, organizing president, top Swiss player, past.
Dann geht ein weiteres grosses Dankeschön an die beiden Lotteriefonds von den Kantonen Basel-Land und Basel-Stadt, die einen riesigen Beitrag leisten an unser Turnier. Und last but not least geht der Dank an alle unsere Gönner und Passivmitglieder, die unser Verein Tennis schon ganz viele Jahre unterstützen. Danke vielmals.
Thank you is going out to the sponsors, all important. As usual, these events can't go on without lots of volunteers and helpers.
Congratulations, you showed up here as a defending champion. Was that different than last year?
Yeah, it was a little bit different, but I think we were just a little bit more confident this year. But the competition was about the same, so great.
You came back even stronger than last year.
Yes, of course, we were just a new team, a little bit of a new team last year, so we were definitely stronger this year.
Thanks so much and congratulations. Silvana sitzt 2-3 Jahre nur im O-Kategorie. Wirkt etwas großes Niveau für uns.
Ja, es ist ein bisschen weniger großes Stress, ja.
Finale jetzt nicht noch angeben, aber trotzdem gut zu nehmen.
Ja, Schauen ist nie lässig und im Moment ist der Tisch grösser, aber eben noch, ja, also entweder sehr gut gespielt und
Gratulation zum zweiten Platz. Das war's Sie. Und das war noch Applaus.
And the trophy being presented to the winners. Team photos. 7,000 francs going to the runner-up. That's not so bad. 10,000 franc check going to the winners. That'll help finance another tournament or two.
Herzlichen Dank für beide Mannschaften. Gratulation für eure Leistungen und kommt gut heim, aber kommen wieder. Danke.
Lass noch mal liegen.
Hey. So we come to a conclusion here to this year's edition of the Women's Masters from Basel. Sweden's Team Sigfridsson, the champions, runners-up, Team Tirinzoni from Switzerland. It's been a great competition. We've had lots of top teams playing here. Don't forget, in 2 weeks' time from Champry, we will have the men's Champry Masters, and we'll be back to you with coverage, live coverage, Curling Champions Tour on Lola 1 TV. And we hope you join us in 2 weeks' time. We wish everybody a safe and good time until then. Thank you very much for listening in and watching in. Goodbye for now.